We got Scott Bauer joining me. The bell is ringing. Here's where I left things yesterday. There's Scott where we left him with the beautiful Colorado view. Let's look at that risk radar real quick here so we got something to talk about. The dollar staying kind of firm today. The Bitcoin trade, though, firming up. Dollar actually slipped a little bit there in the last few moments. Scott, generally a risk on day if you look at NASDAQ, if you look at S&P, if you look at Bitcoin. But does all that change tonight?
It absolutely does. Oliver, I'm sure you talked about this before, but I can't remember in my 35 years professionally of doing this where one stock, and yes, we've had big stocks before, but one stock has earnings that makes up almost 8% of the S&P 500, over 14% of the NASDAQ. And then if you look overall at the S&P, 35% of the companies that are in the S&P 500 are related to AI. So I cannot remember one single stock in my tenure here that can have such an impact. So if Nvidia's guidance, and that's going to be the big thing, it's not going to be, top line, bottom line so much. If the guidance is poor, then that is going to really take off that risk on trade.
Looking at the potential for vol to crush if it goes well, or vol to spike if it goes poorly, where are your guardrails? Where is your idea, Scott, on kind of the range, the variance potential here for the next 24 hours?
Yeah, so the option market was pricing in, but between a $13 and $14 move to the end of this week. So between 7-8%, 170, which is just above that expected move on the downside. That's the 50-day moving average, real critical level there. On the upside, there's nothing up there, no man's land. So are we going to move beyond that expected move of $13, $14 on the upside? I would highly doubt it, even if the results are good, guidance is good. There's definitely room here, to look at 190. I know a lot of people are going to be looking at 200 just because it's a nice big round number. I'm really more focused though on any sort of pullback, which I want to buy on a pullback. 170 is my target area.
I'm looking at the chart right now. If we can take my chart here from Trader Oasis, 170. I mean, you'd feel like people would be running in at 170 if we get down there, given that this has been, we gapped up there in July in the summer.
Yeah, there's no question. That's a really big volume area. That's been a very popular area, if you will, for both buyers and sellers. And it's now the 50-day moving average. So that is going to, if there is a sell-off, we're going to see a lot of volume in on at that level. I don't know that we're going to get down there. I have no idea. If we do, though, I think you're right. You're going to see a lot of people piling in.
Yeah, that would be a nice juicy move, bigger than the expected move. Right now at like 5%, which is not too extreme. I mean, we did have that big red candle August 19th, but otherwise, I feel like the expected move seems kind of fair based on how this has been trading.
Yeah, I personally don't have a position on Nvidia going into earnings. I have plenty of others. However, if I was going to put on a position, it would be a short premium position, like maybe selling an iron condor, selling an outside strangle, maybe buying something against that. I would be short some premium, but that's because, like you, I don't think we're going to move out of that range. Could be wrong, don't know, but that's what the option markets are there for.
Looking at SMH, it's had a little bit of more momentum to the upside here. Kind of, if it breaks down, maybe a head and shoulders. You could see the head. You could potentially see a shoulders if it breaks down. But I'm not too worried about this yet, Scott. I feel that to doubt the AI trade it's been a losing trade. Now, look, I know that these things, juicy bubbles and growth bubbles, even if they're based in very real things, they can pop. But it's just, I want to see the proof in the pudding first. I want to see technical breakdown. And the SMH, I would argue, even looks better than NVIDIA.
I agree with that. And I don't think we can discount the AI trade at all. I think what we will start seeing happening, whether it's this next quarter into 2026 is the AI trade may consolidate. So some of the companies that are on the fringe that are making up, that 35% of the S&P 500, some of those may start going by the wayside because we see this as certain sectors mature over time. What happens is many of the startups, many of the, high flying growth stocks at the beginning, they kind of lose their luster and they maybe get taken out by some of the big guys. So the AI trade is definitely not over, but I can see it consolidating.
You mentioned some of the other stuff you got right now, Scott. Tell me what is juicy for you. Tell me what's exciting trade wise, if not putting on this specific earnings move.
I think Palantir was a real good entry today down at that
Okay.
157, 158 level. Tried to get it yesterday. It ran, missed it, got it today. So I really like that. Earlier today in CrowdStrike, who's reporting now as well. That's one that I did sell premium. I did sell an iron condor, which means I sold a put spread on the downside. I sold a call spread on the upside that expires this Friday, just in 2 days, looking to really harvest that expensive premium. So CrowdStrike's another one where I am looking for a move, but not a move greater than what the market is expecting.
I didn't realize CrowdStrike was getting cooked as much as it was. I guess the idea that maybe it can find some support here, but directionally, your trade's not strongly biased, is it?
No, it's a little bit biased to the upside with the strikes that I
Okay.
used, but really the trade I have on 402.5 on the downside and like 455-ish on the upside, that is where my break evens would be come Friday, anywhere in the middle of that range. So basically, $52, $53 range, I'm going to make money on that trade.
Okay. You mentioned Palantir. I want to go back there just for a sec because that one also seemed like it was a screaming buy at 155. But you now have a pretty big candle today that's
Yep.
not, it doesn't engulf yesterday's, but this is clearly still a pretty two-way fight.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. There's a lot of pessimism out there for some of these stocks, and they're going to move, based on what Nvidia says. Even though they're maybe not 100% correlated, these stocks are going to move on Nvidia's guidance. And if the guidance is somewhat rosy, that's going to be a good thing. That may not be a great thing, at least initially, for Nvidia, because in the past they've blown away expectations, given great guidance, and the stock has sold off a little bit after earnings and then recovered. So Nvidia, that could be the expectation. But some of these other stocks here that have gotten beaten up, the candles maybe don't look good, and maybe there's a little bias on the downside right now. But listen, there's these opportunities that people will say, we wait for, right? If the market pulls back, or if a certain stock pulls back to a certain area, okay, that's my pivot point. And many times when that happens, if we do see those pullbacks, traders, retail, whomever it is, they may say, oh no, it's going down lower, so I'm not going to get in here. I am not really a believer of that. I have my areas there, and so that's why I'm holding to them.
Love it. Love it. We'll see what happens tonight. Should be a fun one. Loving that closing bell hit. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it. Prosper Trading Academy. Thank you for tuning in. Chicago Future of Finance.